So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world. And welcome to a newer episode of Is It That Bad? Where we take a look at an album that maybe it got harsh critics or people just shat on it, and we listen to it so you don't have to, or so we give you an opinion, like tell you like, hey, you should listen to it and ease up. So for this episode, we are doing an album because a few weeks ago we Justin from Warcurse and Mark, we did Megadeth Risk, and so a lot of people voted. Especially, I have this guy that's called Robert, that he posts every time I post something. He posts like, "This is the worst album ever." I'm like, and he said like, "No, do another Megadeth album." So, and this time we have Dominic also join us from Announce the Apocalypse. He couldn't last time, so it's a all thrash metal panel and a guy who doesn't play shit, me. the the critiquer, the
You play the
ones
couch, man.
the one who there's critique the music. So we are talking about Megadeth-Super Collider. This album came out in 2013, and this I like the title Super Collider because this was predating what happened to Dave Ellefson. He super collided and blew his lead on the internet.
Nice.
I'm not gonna review that one, man. I'm not reviewing that video.
No,
you've been workshopping that joke all week, haven't you?
Yeah, I was thinking, what joke? A Dave Ellefson joke. Yes, I miss Dave Ellefson. You know, he was a great bass player, and you know what? Justice for Dave. Who hasn't one cough to a beautiful chick on the internet of legal age in the past? He just got he got a bad end of the stick. I don't know. Justice for Dave Ellefson. I said it. I'm putting it out there. So yeah, we're talking about this album because people said that there's a worse album than Risk for Megadeth. So you know the drill. We have the first round, our first impressions. Then we do the second round where we pick the songs, and the third and final round where we vote. So for this, we're gonna do counterclockwise. So let's start with Justin. So Justin, your initial thoughts when you listen to this album, Super Collider, in 2013.
Yeah, I remember when this came out, and the two previous albums weren't horrible. For all of you people that commented on the Risk video and said that Super Collider is worse than Risk, you're out of your fucking minds. Let's just get that out of the way now. But I didn't hate this album when it came out. I think this is sort of like a lot of Megadeth albums where there was some bangers, there was some filler, there was some absolute junk. You know, I think that's been sort of the theme for the last 15 years of Megadeth or so. But what struck me about this album, there's some really heavy riffs. I think there's like some return to form type stuff where you see like little snippets of like vintage Megadeth. The only thing that kind of holds it back is the production's a little soft. And I've got two guitarists here, so I mean they can tell you like you can play a riff and you can play the exact same riff and you can play it soft and it's going to sound one way, or you can dig into it, it's going to sound different. And it just sounds like some of these songs like heavy riffing but played soft. The production was soft. It was produced and mixed by a dude that goes by Johnny K, and he did like Stained albums and like Three Doors Down and Trapped and all that sort of shit. So like it doesn't surprise me that it came off as a little tame, but overall like songwriting was pretty good. You know, this wasn't my favorite lineup. You know, this was still like the Drover, Chris Broderick lineup. All the talent in the world, no personality in like any of their playing. I like Chris a lot better in Flames, but like I didn't love him in Megadeth. So I don't know. It's like a hit or miss, you know, but I didn't hate it when it came out.
Nice. What about you, Mark?
Yeah, I actually, you know, I think I said in the last video, Megadeth was like the first band that kind of blew my mind and just, you know, got me obsessed with metal. I did not check this out. I was already checked out in Megadeth. I think the last album from Megadeth I checked out when it came out during that era was I think The World Need a Hero. That was in 2001. I checked that out. And I think what's the one, Kick the Chair? Is that the
The
System Has
system has
Failed?
failed.
Christmas failed, yeah.
Right, yeah, I
That's a
checked that
great
out.
underrated album.
Yeah, I saw
Agreed.
that. I think there was a Gigantour that year. I saw that with Nevermore. I think it was the same kind of a tour. So I saw them on that, and I just kind of kept getting disappointed with it. And I think they even broke up. I don't remember what year that was, but I remember, it was a different time. I couldn't really follow everything. And then when they got back together, I think there was United Abominations, and I just kind of got out of the loop. So I actually did not. I think I do remember the song Kingmaker when I listened to this album, but this whole album was brand new to me. So this one was interesting to check it out. So I'll let you know what I think. But I remember this lineup and everything. So I'll reserve my thoughts for later. But yeah, this was a brand new listen for me because I kind of checked out for Megadeth. I thought they're kind of done. They're they've been changing their style so much. There's nothing else to offer. So at this moment in time for Megadeth, I was just bumping the old albums and the greatest hits.
Okay, fair enough, Matt. So what about you, Dominic? Your first initial thoughts if you listen to this week, or if you actually listened to this when it came out?
Yeah, I listened to it for the first time a couple days ago while I was working. I was in the same kind of boat. Megadeth was definitely one of my favorite bands growing up. The big four Thrash, aside from Anthrax, Slayer, Megadeth, Metallica, they were my big influences. So I know Megadeth's early discography, right? Peace Out, So Far, So Good, So What. Those classic records I'm very familiar with, but I never really followed up on any of their stuff past like United Abominations. So yeah, this was the first time I listened to it, and honestly, it wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be. Like, that was how I felt. Like, I felt like maybe it got too much hate because I was listening to Risk when we were supposed to do our initial meeting. So that was the first time I even listened to Risk, for that matter. I never listened to that record either. And I thought Risk was worse too. I do admit that. So I feel like this one was very inconsistent. Like, that's what I was like. I feel like there were some heavy elements, but then that makes sense when you mentioned the Stain producer, because there were some parts where I felt that kind of vibe coming in, and there was more commercial. So they were definitely playing around, and yeah, I guess overall, I'm glad I got through the record, right? It wasn't the worst experience, but yeah, by far one of their weak albums overall. I'm not gonna lie.
Nice. Yeah, good thing. So that goes for me. I actually did listen to this when it came out because I have a love-hate relationship with Megadeth. I don't know. They're gonna put out stuff, I'm gonna listen to it. Same with Metallica. I don't care. The other band that I like, I'm a ride or die, is for the Smashing Pumpkins. I have a love-hate relationship with Billy Corgan. Sometimes he breaks my heart, but I keep listening to his albums. But with Megadeth, yeah, I always listen to them, and I agree with Justin. The last 15 years is like, there's some great songs, then there's some stinkers, then there's some songs that are like mid. So with this one, when it came out, I tried to remember. I don't think I hated it, but I was like kind of indifferent to it, because at that time, at 2014, there were so many newer bands that I was into. I was into The Ocean. I was into Switch Engage. I was into Mastodon. I was into other stuff and not that much. So I think I didn't pay that much attention to it when it came out. But when we did that other video, people were like, "Oh, like Risk is worse." Actually, Risk, I didn't remember. I didn't remember that album. And when I started listening this week to Super Collider, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I remember some of the tracks, but I hadn't listened to this in a long time." So to me, it's an album that, yes, it sounds, now I know because Justin said the production, it sounds sometimes very crisp. And there's something, and I know they have a producer that has that, because when you have a song with the word baby in it, you're a metal band, you're like, why? No, no, that sounds like a Godsmack shit from the last album where they're like, baby, no, baby. There should be no metal bands should have the word baby in a song. That's my opinion, and I'm not in a band. So yeah, when I first listened to it, I think I was kind of indifferent to it, but I don't remember like hating it like a lot of the hate that it receives. So
Yeah.
yeah. So let's go to round two where we pick three or four tracks that we think would be the weakest. So Justin, what tracks do you think are the weakest in this album?
All right. I'm going to start with Burn! Exclamation point, Burn. Don't forget to put that at the end.
Yeah, I don't know
To
why.
me, so this album, it again, there's a really good tracks. Like it opens promising. Kingmaker is a fucking awesome song, and then you're treated to this steaming pile of crap like real early in the album. Um, it opens kind of like a Judas Priest throwaway song, and then Chris Broderick plays like the most stock solo in the world. Kind of sounds like one of those like learn to play scales videos on YouTube. Um, it's very obvious that this was like an attempt to write a radio hit. Like you said, like burn, baby, burn. Like it's just so cheesy and stupid. And then in typical Dave fashion, you got to have like the mega cheese. You got the fire. I've got the fire, my burning desire. It's like nursery rhyme Dave bullshit.
Yeah.
It's not even cheese. Like it's just moldy cheese. Like it's just so bad.
Yeah.
And then he makes sure he repeats that a couple of times. But yeah, this one to me, like I just always skip this song. Like this was like an album ruiner if you didn't just skip it. So yeah, I just acted like this song didn't exist for the last, I don't know how long this thing's been out, 10 years or so. The Blackest Crow was another one. We had talked a lot on during Risk about like the weird, almost like country sort of vibes in some of the songs. And this was just like more of that weird country rock shit, albeit like a little cooler than the stuff on Risk, like the contrast of like the slightly heavier guitar tone, but still an annoying song. I think there's like a fiddle. I think there's a banjo on the song. Like, I just don't think that has any business in a Megadeth song personally. Um, and then the one that really I just thought was a weird track was Forget to Remember. It's kind of like a funny Dave Mustaine's like a clever dude, it's like an attempt to be clever with the song title. But to me, I think this song is like the most telling that like this shit was written in a studio with like a radio rock producer. Like this feels like a lot like a glam song to me. Like if this had been played by like Dokken or somebody, from that kind of scene, I think this might
Breaking
have
the
been like
chains.
yeah, but I mean, it could have been a cool song. Like, I think if it was played by somebody else, like, I think it could have worked. But like, there's no personality to the song. Like, it just feels kind of like it's just there, it just exists. I just think Dave's like the wrong vocalist. And then there's like that weird in the middle of the song. And this is what I really didn't like about it. Was like the creepy telephone call part of the song where he's like harassing a chick that doesn't want to talk to him. Like, hey, and she's like, I don't want to talk to you. And then it actually turns out that was his daughter that was like the chick on the phone, which just
Wow.
makes it even fucking weirder. So like that was like Elektra's Megadeth album debut there.
I
I don't
didn't
know.
know it was his daughter, but
I didn't know that either. Yeah.
Yeah, she also sings the backing tracks on one of the songs later in the album too. She's a really good vocalist. But yeah, the lyrics of the song overall, it made me feel like he watched the movie 50 First Dates and just like really liked it and wanted to make a song out of it. So just an all-around corny piece of crap. Like it was pretty wise to bury this one so late in the album. Like most people probably didn't make it far enough to hear it. So those were the ones that really stood out to me as being like exceptionally bad songs.
yeah, good tracks, man. Good picks, I mean. What about you, Mark? What tracks did you pick?
All right, all right. So yeah, I'll preface it by saying, concurring with Justin, anybody who thinks this is worse than Risk is out of their mind, I think. I didn't find anything on this album like too offensive or like just pummelingly like bad, Like I thought what I thought about the album, which I'll get to, but Risk was much worse. And like to be honest, listening to this album, I was like, all right, what are the three worst songs? Like, I don't think there were too many tracks that were like jarringly bad as opposed to Risk, where I think that like Breadline was terrible, and like there were just other like, oh my god. So
The
this
doctor's
one,
calling.
yeah, there's just so many. Anyone. So I'll start. The worst track I think is the title track, Super Collider. It's got tambourine in it. I mean, unless it's like a Sabbathy 70s or early, like like a I mean, there's no reason for a tambourine in a Megadeth song. That being said, you know, I know what they're going for. I think, you know, it's like kind of trying to be like radio rock, a little more friendly. This is definitely like car commercial metal, you know, like they like turn the car and mud splatters, and it's like, oh wow, they're using a Megadeth track. It's like it's got a tambourine in it though.
Call the general and save some time.
Right, something like that, you know. I also thought it was particularly bad because you know, like I think I said with Risk, the worst thing with this stuff, I guess, you know, Dave Mustaine wouldn't be offended. He's trying to do something different. There's no shredding on there. They're just playing open like ring out chords, and like it's like where's the left hand, man? Like this is Megadeth. So Super Collider I thought was by far the worst. What was the one you guys said? I have it right there. The Blackest Crow, same thing. It's like all of a sudden I was like, is that a fucking slide guitar? Is that a slide? I was like, no, man. So yeah, they're doing the bottleneck thing and the porch. Once again, like it's not the worst song, but like from Megadeth, I don't want to like picture Dave Mustaine on a rocking chair in the South. It's just out of place. It has nothing to do with I don't know what this album's about, really. And the other one I thought maybe Justin would mention this. I thought Dance in the Rain, man, was like interestingly bad. And then I didn't know this, but the singer of Disturbed does backgrounds.
And he
But
does no monkey noises.
yeah, well, and that was what I was gonna say. Like I didn't even know the singer of Disturbed was on it. Like they barely put him up in the mix, and it's kind of like buried between maybe some vocal distortion. So it's like, why would you want this guy on your album and hide it? It's kind of like when South Park made like who was that, George Clooney, like a turkey or something like that. Like they just hit him. But I also what I liked, in a very most humorous way. I did read the lyrics to that one. It was very like political, and I guess it was about Obama. I think during his time there, because it's like something about like yeah, so much for your hope and change. I was like, okay, that's good. And then I think the singer of Disturbed sings this line, which has cracked me up. Because you wouldn't know this by listening to it, you had to have read the lyrics. But he says the word like Al Qaeda, but it's A L dash and then capital letters CIA and then DA. So they're comparing the CIA to Al Qaeda, which is like, oh Jesus Christ. So the crazy, like, you know, and it's like full of cliches. It's like Big Brother is watching you. You're being monitored by drones. Al CIA. What the fuck? So I thought that was pretty just
Old man yelling at
laughably.
the windshield.
I just thought that was laughably bad, but I'm gonna be fair and be positive. I thought I had to dig a little bit after, besides Super Collider, I had to dig like, all right, what's the worst song? There wasn't anything that really, you know, like Risk was tough. There, I would say overall, there wasn't really like an objectively like terrible song. I just maybe you didn't like it. Maybe yeah, maybe some of the songs could have been improved. Um, for example, it was actually my favorite song before we get to it, which was "Built for War." I thought if that was just sped up a little bit, and then one of the things like Justin was pointing out, Dave just can't get of his own way. Like he's like "Built for War, Built for War," and then he says it again. Like if that was like "Take No Prisoners" gang vocals, it would have been like fucking awesome. So overall, I don't want to punish the album too bad. I didn't think it was that bad for the songs digging, but we'll hear what Dominic's got to say here.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what about
Okay,
you,
so
Dominic?
So I don't have three per se, but I did manage to take some notes overall on what I thought. So yeah, I definitely thought the worst track was Cold Sweat. That's the one I put down. I couldn't even tell you how it went, but it's got an asterisk as worst song. That's what I put. And I also I put that the single Super Collider was weak. So I put those two as the main songs that really stood out as the weak songs on the album. And I also thought the vocal arrangements, the lyrics, just as a whole, they didn't really have much to offer, right? And however, the opener, Kingmaker, definitely I put was the strongest track. That was the one. It kind of reminded me of Sleepwalker a little bit. If we're talking about like modern Megadeth, the way it opened, it kind of had that feel. So it was a good start to the record, but just wasn't consistent overall. And it sucks. I mean, you had Sean Drover on here. This was his last record. Chris Broderick as well. And yeah, I agree. This was a strange lineup overall, right? Definitely not the best Megadeth lineup in shows. So yeah, I guess Cold Sweat, Super Collider, yeah, not good.
Nice.
Can I add? I want to add some context. So
I want to add that context too. Yeah, go for it, Justin.
dude, the Dance in the Rain, because like you hit right on the two songs that I thought about throwing out there. If you're ever really, really bored, you really want to punish yourself, you can go on Spotify and Dave has the commentary version of the album where it just goes track by track and there's no music.
Wow,
He just literally talks about all the songs in order.
that's great.
Dance
That's
in the
great.
Rain, he got that song title from a fortune cookie. It said something like it's better to dance in the rain than to stand around and wait for the change or something like that. And he was like, "Oh, that's brilliant." And he wrote it down like and the fortune cookie became the
Yikes.
song title.
Oh,
And yeah,
nice.
it pissed me off like the David Draymond feature. It's like they did their best. Like David's an amazing vocalist. And I
Yeah.
remember like when I was like, "Oh, David," it's like going way back, like it's like, "Oh, dude from Disturbed is on this. Like it's going to be good." And then they did their best to like fucking shit on his vocals and make them sound like Dave's vocals to the point where you almost can't tell that it's
Yeah.
somebody else.
I didn't know that he was on that track until I looked it up. I'm like, David
Yeah.
Draymond, is it
Yeah.
there? Because
He's like that whole second half of the song with like that
He's
that
the
goofy
singing.
distortion. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
And then
it's a shame. Yeah.
but yeah, the other thing with like the Built for War, like that's what I was talking about with like the really heavy riffs. Like
Yeah.
that riff is like straight up like a Peace Cells era, like good riff, but it's just played so soft. And like
Yeah.
that little chanty part in the middle had like major potential to be cool. Like it was a really cool change. And you think that it's about to take you on like a Megadeth style journey, or like, oh, this is gonna be cool. It's building up to go into something. And then it just craps right into another verse. And then the song ends. And it's like
Yeah.
build up for nothing, man. Just like a total disappointment.
Yeah, they
Maybe
do
it
that.
was like a playground war.
Yeah, they do that in Dance to the Rain too. There's like it's actually killer. Like it actually almost sounds like the first time. It's like and then instead of like breaking it right into it, they just changed the part. And then I will say in defense of Cold Sweat, that's a Thin Lizzy song, and I thought it actually
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I thought that fit well on the album because it kind of had that mid-tempo thing. And I actually thought maybe knowing that, if you didn't know that, I'm like, yeah, I guess it's not your average song because I think the original is superb. But I didn't think that was a bad cover. I kind of thought, I was like, all right, it kind of fits.
The original's so much better.
Yeah, but I think
Usually
does.
originals are better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Usually.
but I think that helped the album a little bit because it's got that mid-tempo kind of hard rock thing that this album's trying to do.
Yeah.
Nice. Those are great commentaries. So that leaves me. So I picked some different. I think I didn't like Dance in the Rain because it sounds like, I don't know, Dave is like mumbling. It sounds like he's in the supermarket buying some groceries, but it's political groceries. And he's like, man. And let's be clear. I want to state something. I never thought that Dave Mustaine is a great vocalist. That's not that to me. That's not Megadeth's strongest suit. Like he has a voice that you have to ease into it. He's not a bad vocalist, but I don't think he's the best vocalist in thrash metal. To me, the best vocalist in thrash metal is actually none of the big four. It's really from Testament. To me.
James Hetfield all the way. That's just
I love James, but there's just so many yes that you can listen to at a time. I love James, but I don't know, Chuck Billy. I think he's a great vocalist.
He is good. Yeah, he is.
He's very good. So to me, Dave's vocals are it can be hit or miss. I think they're better in their first albums, but sometimes in the 2000 when he tried like to do some singing. No, singing is not your thing. Your thing is that raspy, like "Hello, me, meet the real me." When he sounds like the Crypt Keeper, that's the type of vocals that Dave should stick to. But when he's trying to sing, no. And Dance in the Rain, I didn't like that part. And the singing part, I thought it was Dave, but then I read it's David Draymond from Disturbed. And to me, Disturbed gets a lot of shit, and so I think it's warranted shit. Because they're like, oh, it's a new metal band. I never thought of Disturbed as a new metal band because they have never rapped. The dude can fucking sing. Yes, he did those monkey noises that made him famous in the first album. But if you listen to his second album, the dude can, he's got some pipes. Even though, yeah. And yeah, it's a missed opportunity with David Draymond. They should have let him just do his thing on that track to make it more memorable, but it just sounds like I couldn't tell that it was him. And it doesn't even say it that David Draymond is on the track on the list when you hear it on the streaming. So yeah, that's a track that I thought it was a good Burn. Yeah, I agree with Justin. It starts like I think it sounded like they were practicing for Guitar Hero. I'm like, I got it at difficult. I'm playing Guitar Hero, and then the babies, And when I was listening to that track, I don't know why I started listening to it, and I'm like, there's a better song that says fire and stuff, and it's called "Give Me Fuel, Give Me Fire, Give Me That Which I Desire." And I'm like, I like that track better than this one because this one felt so forced, and and the baby, I'm just cooling with the babies on metal songs. And the other one I picked is Super Collider, and it's because of I don't know, the vocals just on that track, they sound very bad. They sound like
it was a weak single. Yeah, that's
like
what got me.
Super Collider. I'm like, yeah. It's a weak single. I would agree. But yeah, I think like you all guys said, everyone loves Kingmaker. Kingmaker is a great fucking track that opens the album really good, but unfortunately it loses steam. And the other track that I really love from this album is Built for War, but yeah, it also falls a little bit short. The Blackest Crow, I didn't mind it that much. It just sounded, it's better than Bread Fan from Risk. So there you go. So those are our picks for the songs. Now we're going to the third and final round where we give our final thoughts and we give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Or we can also do mid thumbs. I did that in the YouTube video where we said it was mid. So Justin, your final thoughts on this one?
So if I was to score this completely as an album by itself, not considering who wrote it, not considering where it came from, I think it's an okay album. I don't think it's a great Megadeth album, but I don't think it warrants the hate. I think like Kingmaker, I almost brought this up during the Risk video, but like one of the things you can kind of tell like a good Megadeth song is whether or not they keep it in a live set. Like Dave, he just shoves that stuff out of the live set so fast, but they played Kingmaker for years after this album came out. So like that thing stood the test of time. I think it still pops up in the set now and again. Like that song alone's good enough that like I can't totally crap on this album because like late in Megadeth's career, if they give you one or two good songs on an album, just take them and be thankful. That's about what Metallica gives you nowadays. It's about what Anthrax gives you nowadays. Slayer hasn't written a good song in fucking 20 years. So like overall, it's a C, but as we said in college, like C's and D's earn degrees. Thumbs up. Not a bad album. Definitely doesn't warrant the hate.
Nice. What about you, Mark?
Yeah, so like I try to be respectful of these things, even though these guys they don't care who the hell we are and what we say. It's someone's baby, so I try to be think about how to critique these things respectfully. And so first thing I did read after I listened to the album, because I didn't want to be brainwashed about what they were thinking. Dave, as opposed to Risk, I think Dave owns this album a little bit more. He says like he was trying to experiment, do something different. I even read an interview he said like people just want you to play Good Morning Black Friday, and he's like, that's not me. I want to take risks. So with that into consideration, I think he was successful at doing what he was trying to do. He was trying to make like a mid-tempo, more accessible, little bit of experimenting here, but kind of a Megadeth album. So I think he definitely achieved it. And then like as Justin said, then do you judge it as an album or you judge it as a Megadeth album? As an album, like if it just, I will say one thing: if I judge this as just like a metal or a hard rock, because I don't know if this whole album really classifies as metal. Like, and I was looking at where's the double bass. It might be a hard rock kind of metal album. For me, I would say to judge it on that level, it feels very dated for this thing to come out in like what year did this come out?
2013.
It sounds like it came out in like Cryptic Writings era, like 98. Like it's very kind of for 2013. Like, well, maybe see that's the thing. Was Dave trying to get radio play because this shit would not be popular in 2013? You know, that's the metalcore stuff. So maybe he was just trying to make something he liked, which to his, you know, if that's what he wants to do, I respect people who do what they want to do, no matter if people like it. As a Megadeth album, I gotta give it a huge thumbs down. You know, I like the first 4 albums. I like it fast, aggressive, and I would say, once again, to me, it's like a pizza place. If they make like the best, you know, regular slice, and all of a sudden they stop making it, well, what are we going here for? So Megadeth, to me, it's all about that raw, the technicality, just the speed demon guitar, just a little more evil sounding than Metallica, the musicianship. And once again, I think this album is similar to Risk. It strips at Megadeth of everything it should be. There's no crazy musicianship. Some of the solos are good, but most of them are forgettable. Although the songs are kind of hard rock, they kind of don't have an edge or a danger element. So unfortunately, I guess if this was Dave, like if Dave asked me, this is what I was trying to make, I'd say, all right, thumbs up. You did it, if that's what you're going for. But thumbs down. I'll never listen to this album again.
Good. So let's hope you don't run into Dave because he's a black belt.
Oh, man.
And he'll be like, Mark, you didn't like my record.
I think Mark could take him, man. I think Mark's got him.
I think he's Dave. It's not the same Dave as if we were being like 2004 Dave or the 90s Dave, I would be afraid. But now, no. So so we have a thumbs up and a thumbs down. Dominic, your final thoughts and rating for this.
Okay, so I guess I'm going to rate it based on a holistic standpoint, right? Because this came out in 2013. So at this point, Megadeth had already released a bad record. You know, you mentioned Risk. I think Risk was a shock because, if I'm not mistaken, it was right after Cryptic Writings, right? So they were on a pretty good trajectory, right? Consistent albums for the most part, pretty good records overall. And then Risk came out and it was pretty much, it was a low point in their career. So that one really stood out, and it has notoriety for being a bad record overall, kind of like Metallica Saint Anger. So I get it, but with this particular record, you know, it came out in a whole different time, and I don't really think it deserves the hate really that it got. And the reception overall, I feel like it's a little hyperbolic. So when I'm looking at it from that standpoint, I feel like it's not a great Megadeth record. I'm not going to listen to it again. I'll be honest, it doesn't hold up well. It's not like a Peace Sells, you know, Rust in Peace era, not even close for that matter. And, you know, I mean, none of the big four, they never really went back to those 5 records, you know, that they released. All of those bands, those first 5 albums that they released, that was just, it almost seems like all 4 had the same trajectory. They were all going in the same trends. You know, in the 90s, they all had like that mid-paced thrash record. It's just all that shit was happening cohesively. So overall, yeah, it was a decent listen, you know. So aside from the guys, I'm going to give it a mid thumb. I don't think it was terrible. I don't think it was the greatest. Obviously, it was not a great Megadeth album, but yeah, I mean, it didn't kill me. It was 40 minutes of my life that, you know, not too bad overall. So mid thumbs.
There can be a mid thumb. So for me,
I love Dave Mustaine, you know.
That makes you the tiebreaker.
that makes
it's all on you, Hector.
Hector, really quick.
The pressure.
I do want to add. I meant to say that for people, I saw people commenting when we did the Risk thing. There's no way this is worse than Risk. I don't think this was painful. Like, for people to say like this is an abomination, I'm like, dude, you're out of your mind. As Justin said, like Risk was 10 times worse.
Risk was so hard to get through that it took me like 4 sittings just to listen to the damn thing. Not to mention, this was like 43 minutes. Risk is like an hour and 20 minutes. Oof. Yeah, this was so much easier to listen to. Like
it's a long album.
Yeah, you could put this album on and like do whatever, and it's not offensive. Like Risk, you would hear it playing in the background, and you would be like, "Fucking change this! What is this?" You know, it's like you're running across the room.
Like I was surprised the record was done when it was. I was like, "Oh shit!" You know, like that. It was a quick listen overall. So.
Yes, it's a quicker album. So yeah, for me, this lineup, I saw Megadeth in Puerto Rico. They played. I saw them twice. I saw them in 2004 for The System Has Failed, and for me, that's an album that a lot of people. That's an underrated album. I think The System Has Failed is one of their better albums in that later era that a lot of people don't talk about. I saw them with, and I think Sean Drover and the other Broderick were, and they were good, but like you say, they have no personalities.
Well, it's just like nothing stands out, you know. It's like you can identify a Marty Friedman solo from like 1,000 miles
I
away.
love Nick Menza.
Yeah, Nick Menza's drumming, very tasteful. Like, you know, Kiko, Dirk, like these are world-class guys that have like a very distinct sound. Like you could hear them out of context and you'd know who they were. And I just think like Chris Broderick, to me, he might be the most technically skilled guy, like of any guitar player they've ever had. Just technically proficient, the things he can do. But it just sounds like these guys will get the reference. But it's like if you could just program guitar parts and it would just like a computer would spit them out with like no feeling. That's Chris Broderick's playing on like this album and the one before it. And it's not because he doesn't have the talent. So that's why it's kind of a disappointment. Like he has all the talent in the world and it just feels very stock and very stale. Like there's just nothing about it that sings to you like you come to expect from like lead playing in Megadeth. You know, all the way back to like, you know, Chris Poland forward. Like,
Oh, that's the best.
Yeah, everybody they've ever had like has a very distinct sound, style, flavor, and like the playing that you get out of Chris Broderick on these albums is just like such a disappointment.
Yeah, I'm not a guitar player, but yeah, I think the lack of personality is there because when they went with for Dystopia, I actually like Dystopia.
Awesome
I thought it was
great
a return to form, and the last album that they put out, I can't remember the name. I liked it as well. So yeah, this album for me, it's I didn't find I don't think it warrants the hate that it gets. I'm sorry, I'll put it out there. It's not worse. This is not the worst Megadeth record. I think that honor goes to Risk. Risk is the worst Megadeth record, and there's some tracks in here that I enjoy, and there's some others that they're like the kids would say now, they're mid. Like Beginning of Sorrow. It's just mid. It's not offensive, but it doesn't do anything. And Forget to Remember, yeah, it's like that ballad, and now that Justin said that it's her kid, it would have been funny if she would have said, like, go home, Dad, you're drunk. That would have been better if she did that. But
I think she said, stop calling me, right? Something like that.
Stop calling me. So I'm going here. I don't want to give it a thumbs down because I think there's some. If this record would have been like more raw and like not as polished, I think it would have been a decent Megadeth record. And also, the album cover is not the best album cover,
Right.
but I would say I'm going with mid. It's not bad. It's not great. It's a mediocre Megadeth album, but there's some. Kingmaker is amazing, so there's some redeeming qualities to it, and there's some mid tracks, and it's not like when I was listening to Risk, it was like so hard to get through it. And for this one, I didn't find it that hard. I thought it's okay. So I'm guessing if we have two votes as a mid, one thumbs up and one thumbs down, this album is just hanging by a thread. It's slightly safe. So I'm sorry, Robert. We don't think this is the worst Megadeth album. So we want to know from you people, what do you think about this album? How would you rate it in the Megadeth discography? Because they got a lot of records now. I think they're like 16 records or something like that.
Yeah,
13 was the 13th album, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and this one's 14.
That would have made 14 and then
15,
new
so
ones.
they have 16 records.
Yeah.
So they put out a lot of records, and yes, they've had ups and downs. And I think to me the worst thing about this album sometimes is stage vocals, because the vocals here I don't know.
agree.
He sounded kind of like buried in some of the song, but I think there's some promising like music on this. And I'm not a musician, I can't play shit, but to me, nothing offensive, so it's slightly safe. So comment, people. First of all, I want to thank my guests. I want to thank Justin from Warcurse, Mark from Electrocutioner, and Dominic from Announce the Apocalypse. So if you're one of those people that are complaining that there's no new thrash metal bands, like shut the fuck up. Here's 3 bands for you to check out. Justin, Warcurse, they put out an album last year, Confession, and I think they're gonna do a tour this year. So that's a great album. So I'll put the link so people can check their YouTube page. And Electrocutioner, they have some debut album, False Idols, came out last year, and they're playing some shows, and they're gonna play a show with a band from Puerto Rico called Fulminator.
Yeah.
So Fulminator, if you watch this video, come on, do an interview with me.
I'm gonna talk to him.
I supported you guys from the beginning. And obviously, Dominic from Announce the Apocalypse, I've had him on the channel when the channel was new, like because I did an interview with him when he had the last album, and obviously I interviewed him at the band for the latest album, which is Experience Machine, which came out in January. And if you like concept about like a machine that turns your life better, yes, this is the concept. No, it's not Total Recall by Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's a movie. But yeah, it's that record. It's cool because like JC, my friend JC Rock and Metal Reviews, he also reviewed it, and we compared it. It's like a Operation Mindcrime by Queensryche, but the Thrash version with progressive, that type of concept record, which it's lost. So I'll put the link so people can also check them out. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to me, what the fuck are you waiting for, man? I interview bands, I do album reviews, and almost every time that I do album reviews, I do some jokes. And I also review like bands that are metal, because I promise, I told my girlfriend, you know what album I'm gonna review this year, just for fun? I'm going to review Taylor Swift record.
Uh-oh.
Just for fun.
Unsubscribe.
Yeah, no, man. I'm gonna trash it. Probably it's just gonna be for fun. I wanna get the Swifties offended. But also, I do the Is It That Bad series, and I do interviews, album reviews. So subscribe to me. I'm getting the watch hours because you know what? I need that money so I can buy a better couch.
Yeah,
Right.
or another couch.
This couch, you can see a part of the couch, but this couch is, my kids have fucked it up so much that there's some parts that I try, I hope people can see some of the parts because it's just embarrassing. So coming up next for Is It That Bad, I put a poll since Pearl Jam is putting out a new record, I put 4 records, so please vote on that, because probably that will be the next Is It That Bad. And we also put ideas for other albums to review, but this year there's so many bands that are putting out new albums, like Trapped, Alien Ant Farm, that is, they're just making it too easy for me, because I'm gonna
be busy, bro.
I'm gonna be busy. So until next time, people, this is Hector, the Shield Dude on a couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you and goodbye.